Okay, it's 1:30. Shall we begin? Everybody ready? Can we begin with a roll call, please?
Okay, Commissioner Shoemaker,
Present.
Commissioner David,
Present.
Commissioner Gossick-Seidman,
Present.
Vice Mayor Moore,
Present.
Mayor Hillman,
Present.
Town Attorney Tercivia, and Town Manager Labadie.
Present.
Thank you.
And can we rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay.
Does anyone have any adjustments for the agenda? Can we then have a motion to approve it as it stands?
I move that we approve the agenda as presented.
Is there a second?
I second it.
All in favor, say aye.
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 To move on to presentations and proclamations, which we have 3 today. The first will be the building department. Proclamation for Building Safety Month for May 2021. Whereas the town of Highland Beach is committed to recognizing our growth and strength depends on the safety and economic value of the homes, buildings, and infrastructure that serve our citizens, both in everyday life and in times of disaster. And whereas the confidence in the resilience of our buildings that make up our community is achieved through the devotion of vigilant guardians, building safety and fire prevention officials, architects, engineers, builders, tradespeople, design professionals, laborers, plumbers, and others in the construction industry who work year-round to ensure the safe construction of buildings. And whereas Building Safety Month is sponsored by the International Code Council to remind the public about the critical role of our communities, largely unknown protectors of public safety. Our local code officials who assure us of safe, sustainable, energy efficient, and livable buildings that are essential to America's prosperity. And whereas our nation benefits economically and technologically from using the international codes that are developed by a national voluntary consensus codes and standards developing organizations, our government is able to avoid the high costs and complexity of developing and maintaining these codes, which are the most widely adopted building safety and fire prevention codes in the world. And whereas the 2021 theme, Prevent, Prepare, Protect, Building Codes Safe, encourages all Americans to raise awareness of the importance of building safe and resilient construction that ensures that places where we live, learn, work, worship, and play are safe, and to recognize that countless lives have been saved due to the implementation of safety codes by local and state agencies. Now, therefore, I, Douglas Hillman, Mayor of the town of Highland Beach, Florida, on behalf of the Town Commission, do hereby proclaim the month of May 2021 as Building Safety Month in the town of Highland Beach, and in doing so, encourage our citizens to commit to improve building safety, resilience, and economic investment at home and in the community, and acknowledge the essential service provided by our building safety and fire prevention officials in protecting our lives and property. And witness, wherefore I have hereunto set my hand and caused the official seal of the town of Highland Beach, Florida, to be affixed this 4th day of May 2021. And we thank you all. I know many times people think you're giving them a hard time, but in the long run, it's absolutely essential. And if it wasn't for you, we wouldn't have the safe construction that we have today. So we thank you very much. And Jeff, if you'll come up and accept this on behalf of your crew.
And we would like them to take a picture with the commissioners. So,
You want us to come down there?
Big smiles, see him. Oh.
Oh, I got two, so.
Right, back post.
Back pose. Nice work. All right. Jeff and the team.
Pardon?
Do something.
We'll do something for him for sure. Next is the water department. Is Pat around?
There they are. Almost that magic.
Hi, guys. This proclamation is Drinking Water Week, not month, just week. May 2nd through May 8th, 2021. Whereas water is our most valuable natural resource, and whereas only tap water delivers public health protection, fire protection, support for our economy and the quality of life we enjoy, and whereas any measure of a successful society, low mortality rates, economic growth and diversity, productivity, and public safety are in some way related to access to safe water. And whereas we are all stewards of the water infrastructure upon which future generations depend. And whereas each citizen of our town is called upon to help protect our source waters from pollution, to practice water conservation, and to get involved in local water issues by getting to know their water. Now, therefore, I, Douglas Hillman, Mayor of the town of Highland Beach, Florida, on behalf of the Town Commission, do hereby proclaim the May 2nd through 8th, 2021 as Drinking Water Week. In witness, wherefore, I have hereunto set my hand and caused the official seal of the town of Highland Beach, Florida, to be affixed this 4th day of May, 2021. Congratulations. Welcome. Thank you. Thanks, guys. We appreciate all you do. Oh, there's one more here.
One more. You want some help?
This happens to be the 52nd Annual Professional Municipal Clerk Week, May 2nd through May 8th. Whereas the office of the Professional Municipal Clerk, a time-honored and vital part of local government, exists throughout the world. And whereas the office of the Professional Municipal Clerk is the oldest among public servants, and whereas the office of the Professional Municipal Clerk provides the professional link between the citizens, the local government bodies, and agencies of the government at other levels. And whereas the professional municipal clerks have pledged to be ever mindful of their neutrality and impartiality, rendering equal service to all. Whereas the professional municipal clerk serves as the information center on functions of local government and community. Whereas professional municipal clerks continually strive to improve the administration of the affairs of the office of the professional municipal clerk through participation in education programs, seminars, workshops, and the annual meetings of their state, provincial, county, and international professional organizations. Whereas it is most appropriate that we recognize the accomplishments of the office of the professional municipal clerk. Now, therefore, I, Douglas Oman, Mayor of the Town of Highland Beach, Florida, on behalf of the Town Commission, do hereby recognize the week of May 2nd through May 8th, 2021 as Professional Municipal Clerk Week, and further extend appreciation to our Town Clerk, Lynelda Gaskins, and to all professional municipal clerks for their vital services they perform and their exemplary dedication to the communities they represent. In witness wherefore, I have hereunto set my hand and caused the official seal of the Town of Highland Beach, Florida, to be affixed this 4th day of May, 2021. Congratulations.
Again.
We are now up to public comments, and Ms. Kruta is here. Yes. Would you come up to the microphone, please? Do I need to wear this one? No, you don't.
Free again. My name is Roberta Kruder, and I live on 1101 Highland Beach Drive, and I'm a longtime resident here. So now that I'm getting more mature, certain things bother me that didn't bother me before. So what I'm finding is on our streets, the garbage is on Monday and Thursdays, but people leave their rubbish out all week. And we have to look at it primarily on Friday. So the whole weekend, the properties look terrible. There's nobody enforcing it. I tried a few times, a few knocks to neighbors, but nobody's ever home. And it just doesn't look good. That's number one. Number two is the Rey Sands. I used to enjoy going over there for breakfast a couple of times a week. They impose a $10 charge to park your car. I think as residents, we should propose some type of a discount for residents to park our cars there. A lot of people don't go anymore because of that. And it's a nice way to start the day. Number three, I'm an avid tennis player. We had reciprocity with Del Rey a number of years ago. We don't have it any longer. I pay double because I'm not a resident of Delray Beach, and our town doesn't offer anything in athletics. So that irks me. And number four, the beaches. They seem to need, I don't go often, but when I do, they seem to be really filled with debris. So I'd like that to be addressed. And that's about it.
Can I ask you a quick question?
Sure.
Back up to your first point, the garbage. It's the garbage cans that are left out?
It's garbage cans, but mostly cuttings from the landscaping people. They leave they don't take it with them.
Gotcha. Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
Mayor,
Sure.
it's me. I can add to that. I have personally had complaints along the same lines as Ms. Kruta. Also from persons in townhouses and single family homes whose neighbors leave the cans out overnight, 3 nights, 4 nights. Maybe they're out of town, but as a courtesy, other neighbors could bring it in for them. And then lastly, people leaving the cans like in the front yard, which we do have a code that provides relief for all of those items she's stating.
Sounds like it's a pretty big subject. So it's cuttings, people leaving the cans out.
Yes, sir. It's
Maybe we can tackle that as an all-encompassing kind of subject.
I think it's just oversight by persons who get busy and don't realize it or leave town. But
Yep.
I know we on my street, we help each other bring the cans back in if someone's left town. So we maybe just could do something in the manager's minute, and there might be other ways of addressing that. But she's right. It's been growing.
And the landscaping, a lot of the trucks, they don't want to take the,
Right.
They don't want to haul away their stuff. So my company that does our 4 houses does. He puts all the cuttings and everything, trimmings, and discards them.
Because there's a dumping fee, so therefore they're saving money by leaving it on the street.
But don't we require that they do that?
Yeah.
I mean, if they do, then let's find the
Yeah,
landscaping company.
Let's turn this over to Marshall.
Yeah,
See
I'll take a look and confirm that. We'll send out an education piece, but again, it's very common in the area. When I say that, again, as a Boca resident too, when you hire a landscaper, they come and say, do your coconut palms on a Wednesday and your yard waste is until Friday, they'll leave them on your yard because they're doing work as an extension of the resident and your yard waste is out. So I'll take a look at the code to see if we have it when you can or can't. That could be something we have to take a look of on a larger policy scale if that becomes an issue that you would wish to tackle. But a lot of folks, your landscaper comes in, leaves it there for the next landscape pickup day. And again, if they miss it, because usually that's here, it's on Monday. So if you have a landscaper come on Tuesday, it's going to sit a week. So we may have to take a look at that. So thank you. And we'll double back and take a look at the code, and I'll give you a report back on what the details are.
Okay, thank you for bringing it to our attention.
When my mother lived in Lake Worth, she would get a ticket if things were left out.
Okay, so we'll take a look. We'll dig into it. So thank you. Yep.
So just a couple comments, if I may. One is, you're right, Marshall, a lot of towns do the same thing, you know, and it's based on when they cut, they leave it to be collected later, and they don't track when they're actually going to be picked up. They're only there to do the job.
Right.
But I think it's an important point. I really do like the idea about Rey Sands and a discount for residents. I mean, it's something simple that we should do and encourage. Can't force it, but we certainly can encourage them, motivate them. The other thing is, and I think you're demonstrating a point for all of us. Representing the town, we have one person here speaking about concerns, and I don't know of how many residents know enough that they can come here in person, not just on Zoom or whatever, and voice their interest in, their input on how to keep Highland Beach a paradise. So thank you.
What about the tennis?
The what?
The tennis, the municipal tennis court in Delaware.
Yeah, that's another area that's outside our boundaries, of course, but
We did have it a while ago before.
yeah. It comes up at a time when we're working other issues with Delray. But
I know, but
yeah, so I don't know what we can do there.
Okay, thank you again for coming, appreciate it. Shall we move on? Announcements, there are several board vacancies. There are 2 for the Board of Adjustments and Appeals, 1 for Code Enforcement, 3 vacancies for Financial Advisory, 1 for Planning, and 4 for Natural Resources. I thought Natural Resources was starting to close back in and not had so many. Did something occur?
Excuse me, we do have applications on file that we received. We were waiting for that ordinance to get adopted, the ordinance where you are changing the residency requirements. So we're gonna present them at the June meeting.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Meetings and events, Charter Review Board, first meeting will be May the 12th. On the 13th is the Planning Board regular meeting, and the next Town Commission meeting is May the 18th. There's a board action report. It's not really an action report. There's just a report on what occurred at the Code Enforcement meeting. That is attached on didn't note the page on that. Here it is on page 13. Basically, the home on 3012 South Ocean, that was brought into compliance. I believe that was the one that was doing a swimming pool with no permits. And the other was the one that has the problem with their dock and their pilings. That was given 45 days. If it wasn't completed in 45 days, then the fine would begin. Also, I was asked to read a statement from our attorney about a request for attorney-client private session. It'd be town attorney has a desire, advice for the Highland Beach Town Commission concerning pending litigation, specifically regarding settlement negotiations and strategy related to litigation expenditures in the case of 1006 Grand Court. Just as a reminder, that's the one that we met on 2-3 weeks ago. That session will be scheduled for May 18th at 1 p.m., 30 minutes prior to our regular session. Session will be attended by the members of the Town Commission, Mayor Hillman, Vice Mayor Moore, Commissioners David Shoemaker, Gossett Seidman, Town Manager Labadie, Town Attorneys Versivia and Rubin. Certified court reporter will be present to ensure that the session is fully transcribed, and the transcript will be made public upon the conclusion of the above cited ongoing litigation. I'll give this to you so you can have it in the record. Okay, moving on to ordinances. Starts on page 18. This is the proposed ordinance to modify the residency requirements for serving on the quasi-judicial and advisory boards. Marshall, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Mayor. So at our last meeting, we had a discussion on the proposal that you see before you by adding in a little bit more of a description, providing a little bit of residency requirement flexibility as it relates to non-quasi-judicial advisory boards, no more than 2. They would have to still remain to be property tax payers to serve on the advisory board. Commission expressed general support for this. We brought it forth for first reading. If approved today, we could. Linelda could get it to second reading on May 18th because we have enough time. I was concerned at the last meeting if we have enough time to advertise in. So we can still meet those requirements. So we would do a second read on the 18th if all is well with the commissioner. So I could answer any questions.
Okay, start with John. Any concerns, comments?
None.
No. Evelyn?
No.
Peggy?
Just one, just to underscore that we keep this strictly limited for now while we see how it goes, and keep in mind that this is on the books for future commissions, so that, we don't want 5 or 7 out-of-town landlords running the town, as happened in Orlando. So I think this is a great look that the mayor brought up a couple meetings ago, that we do have needs for competent people of different backgrounds. But with just I'm voting yes, but just with the asterisk that we want to make sure that we keep it in check for the future commissions.
Yeah. Keep in mind, we put a safeguard in that it's limited to 2. No
Yes,
more
I'm
than 2
fully
on
aware
any
of
one
that,
board.
but I would hate to see future commissions change it to 3, 4, 5,
Well,
6. So
for sure.
That's all. That's my point.
Yep.
Thank you very much. I think it was a very wise move.
Okay,
Nothing for me.
nothing? Okay, nothing for me. Do we need a roll call on it, or can we just,
Yes, we do.
okay? We need a motion.
Right.
I'll make the motion. It is,
Section 2-99.
No,
No.
A motion to approve item
yeah, motion to
we don't
approve.
have the ordinance.
Item 8A, the proposed ordinance modifying the residency requirements for serving on quasi-judicial and advisory boards.
Perfect.
Thank you. We need a second.
Need a second.
Second,
Okay, and I'll do a roll call. Mayor Hillman,
Yes.
Commissioner David,
yes.
Commissioner Shoemaker,
Yes.
Commissioner Gossett Seidman,
Yes.
and Vice Mayor Moore.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries.
Yeah.
Okay, moving on. No consent agenda, no unfinished business. New business resolution number 2021-005, appointment to the planning board member Harry Adwar, can be found on page 23 is where it begins. Harry, are you with us?
He did not join the meeting today. But he was vetted by the chairperson of that board, and his recommendations were there to keep him on the board, but he didn't join the meeting today, so.
Okay, we have the paperwork open for discussion. Do you want to start, John?
I really don't have any further comment. It all looks acceptable to me.
Okay. No,
No, I don't have any comment.
I'm sorry, no
No comment.
comment. Okay, Peggy?
No comment right now. Thank you.
Okay,
No comment.
okay, we need a motion.
I move that we accept resolution number 2021-005 as presented.
Is there a second?
I second it.
All
Okay,
in favor, just say aye.
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 Move on to item B, can be found on page 32. Discussion on the proposed ordinance amending section 30-66, other requirements. That's of the zoning code, chapter 30, modifies certain encroachment setbacks for properties abutting a waterway, canal, or a lake. I'm going to turn this over to you, Marshall.
Thank you, Mayor. From our last meeting, we were talking about marine accessory structures. We heard from a resident concerned about the rear yard setback component. The commission expressed its desire to expedite or move along at a quicker pace this one small provision or area. Ingrid and I met and had discussions with Len Rubin. And you see the underlined section in there that would grant rear and side yards that are on the waterfront can have some additional encroachments up to 50%. We continued the clause to encourage the pervious and porous nature of those improvements to help improve infiltration, but created that flexibility. I know that Ingrid had also wanted to discuss pool deck setbacks that kind of work in concert with this.
Yes. I did want to bring to the commission's attention that the zoning code provides setbacks for pool decks. It's in section 30-68F, which is a different section than what's in the ordinance before you, 30-66. I provided a slide, Teresa, if you would kindly put up that slide of the current pool deck setbacks that are in the code. You could take a look at those. Okay, so if you look at letter C, which I've highlighted in yellow, it reads, if the rear property line borders a public body of water, the pool deck or decks or screen enclosures may extend to not less than 5 feet from the right-of-way line or bulkhead line, whichever is further landward. So really the issue here is that pool decks are technically hard surfaces for walking, gathering, and sitting. And I think the goal of any code should be to reduce redundancy and inconsistencies. So I feel that the commission may want to consider striking through letter C as it pertains to pool decks and decks, given what's in the ordinance before you under 30-66, that walkways and other hard surfaces for sitting and gathering, right, are, called out in that particular 30-66. Now, I do want to also focus on the component here in letter C of the screen enclosure. The commission might want to consider keeping the screen enclosure setback at 5 feet, given that a screen enclosure is a structure, and therefore a 5-foot setback, may just be fine if the commission agrees. However, if you do decide to keep it, I would recommend cutting it out of this section and placing it in 30-66. Again, that's referenced in your ordinance because it's really, it belongs in the encroachment section. The way it reads right now, if you wanted to take advantage of this 5-foot setback for a screen enclosure, technically you have to be within, you have to have a swimming pool, right? Because it's under the swimming pool provisions of the code. So if you want to take advantage of a setback, this 5-foot setback, it shouldn't really matter if you have a swimming pool or not, which is another reason to put it in the encroachment section of the code. So that's just something I wanted to bring to your attention, and I'll be happy to address any questions.
Glad you brought that to our attention.
It's a simple thing to visualize.
Yeah.
What do you think, John?
So I actually went to one of the Bellito properties that has this issue where the pool deck ends with pavers, and then there's just dirt, and then you have the seawall. And
Right.
I think we're talking about how to manage the dirt
Right.
that is about 2, 3, 4 feet wide. It would seem to me that it'd be amazing to me if somebody would put screen all the way to the seawall itself. I can't see why anybody would do that. So I don't know if that makes any sense, but clearly it looks like heck, to be polite, to leave the dirt and, grass or whatever as not that person's responsibility to care for, because you have weeds growing and whatnot. I saw it. So, I mean, it was hard for me to visualize it with the wording here. I have to tell you, I read this 3 or 4 times and I'm trying to, in my mind, visualize it. It's not easy.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's a better way of wording it than what you've done, but the idea that total encroachment does not exceed 50% of the side or rear yard setback area, that might be simply understood by you all, but I don't think the citizens will read that quite as clearly and with understanding. So what I'm saying is, forget the screen. I think we need to have the issue of coming up to the seawall resolved in favor of the owner, so that they can do something with it and it's not an eyesore, that kind of a thing. Am I
Okay.
talking sense here or no?
I think that's what this does.
Yeah,
Well,
but-
again, Mr. Davidson referenced the seawall because his property does go up to the seawall. But then
Yeah.
you have to be mindful that there are other properties that don't go right up to the seawall.
Don't go
right?
up, yeah.
Actually, I have Teresa, if you could kindly put up the second slide. I have a plan of Mr. Davidson, who initially made the public comment. I have a copy of the plan that he submitted for a building permit. So you could see this is his proposed wood deck that had been there. He was in yellow. He was proposing to remove that wood deck and expand that area, right? He's
Right.
proposing pavers. I'm sorry, I can't read the detail, but I think it's pavers,
Right.
concrete pavers. So when the building official initially looked at it, he made a comment about the provision in 30-66, walkways and other hard surfaces for sitting and gathering up to 4-foot setback. My comment as a zoning person reviewing it was that, is this an extension of the pool deck? If so, then I referred them to 30-68, right? Where you have to be within 5 feet because it's abutting a waterway. And then my comment went on to say, if it's not an extension of the pool deck, well, we have provision 30-66, walkways and hard surfaces have to comply with the 4-foot. This is that redundancy that I'm talking about. Again, a pool deck, a deck as it's written in 30-68, the previous slide, those are technically, as I said, hard surfaces. So we have a little bit of a conflict here that's, I think, appropriate to address, given what the ordinance before you states. So again, I think our final conclusion was that, okay, they're removing a wood deck, which is technically, it's a deck, a walkway, an area for sitting, and they're expanding it. So they would have to comply with the walkway provision as it currently states in 30-66 with a 4-foot setback. But he was saying because his seawall is right his property line is right at the seawall, he wanted it up to the seawall. But you could see that the language we're proposing, it says can go up to the property line, because as I said, not everyone's property goes right up to the seawall. That abuts a waterway.
I'd like to hear from my associates to my left, both of whom have property on water. So they are experiencing this every day.
So I guess,
So what do you people think?
okay, so this 50%, are they in compliance with the 50% because the length of the property was how much? I didn't see.
Right. Yes, it meets that proposed provision. When you look at an aerial of the site, the area that you could see, there's a pool deck extending on either side. The rest of that is all grass. So they would comply with that 50%. They would be
Because
under.
it's 200 and the area that they're looking to expand is 50
Yeah.
or something like that.
As
So
well,
it
as
complies with the 50%.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I guess as somebody who lives in that type of property, when it's just grassy area, there's typically like a slope, so it's unusable because of the slope. So by building it out like they're proposing, it actually makes it usable land. I actually did the same thing at my house a few years prior, and like that, because that grass didn't grow that was there. And so now it is, enjoyable. I guess my question would be about this 50%. I wonder if that's ever going to come into question, because I could see people who have, that property happens to have a lot of feet on it, but what if you have some of these pie-shaped properties, they only have 50 feet on the water. So why would they only get to do half? So I also don't understand, why is it critical at the edge of the property? So maybe, I wonder if a better way to word it is like when you look at the entire plot of the property, because, maybe at the edge of the property, you could paver it so you can use it, but maybe you would encourage that green space on other sections of the property. And maybe, so I don't know if there's any, like, why is it at the property line abutting the water? Like, why is that necessary? Like, instead, maybe could we make it, I don't know what the right word would be, but so that you encourage green space, but not necessarily at the water line.
It's a good point.
Well, the code, we already have setbacks, for all types of things on the
Right.
side. You can't encroach a setback unless it's documented in section 30-66. So that's what setbacks are for, right? To promote a lot of vegetation and what have you. Again, there are certain things, structures and other things that are allowed in the setback, but.
So a driveway, considering the front of your lot, a driveway can go, what's the setback on a driveway at the street?
I'm trying to recall. I don't know that. I think driveways can encroach into a setback, obviously.
Right.
Yeah.
I guess
I'd have to
to
double
me,
check
it would
in
be
how
the
the
kind
code
of
reads.
similar, the rationale for maybe a driveway going, I don't know. So I guess my point is the property line abutting the water. I guess I don't necessarily see the reason for having this 50% for that particular piece of your property. A lot of that is unusable. So if you can build it out, you're actually making it more usable.
Well, how did the 50%, where did that come from?
Yeah, what's the rationale behind
Yeah.
it?
I'll own it. I came up with a number. Gotta start off, you gotta jump off somewhere.
Okay.
So
That's honest.
generally, again, just on setbacks and the planning principles behind setbacks are supposed to be unencumbered. They're supposed to be open for access to get around your property, not just for the property owner, public safety, drainage, public works. You want to keep areas around your home unencumbered and open. So, I guess if it's paved, you could easily still access around it, but again, and also we want water infiltration. Nowadays, traditionally, it's always been landscaping has been your infiltration, just a natural sense. Now there's more engineering principles. The financial capacity of property owners in Highland Beach can do more of those more progressive or more expensive and engineered type systems. But a lot of that is to allow for water infiltration into the ground, nutrient cycling from all of the runoff. We want to collect the sediments and oils, greases, things that kind of bind itself to the sediments. We want that to settle in before it gets to the intracoastal. So a lot of those things. So we came up with 50% that if you do have, say, 100-foot lot, you got 50 feet of basically paved to your seawall, to your boat. And it kind of matches where your dock space is, where your boat lifts. So you kind of have an appropriate amount.
That
So
makes sense.
What
is it currently?
currently you can't have anything, 0.
And that's the problem.
So we went from 0 to 50%. And if you have a corner lot that's on water, like you have, 2 canals, or you have a corner property, it includes the side yard as well. So conceivably, 50% of the setback in the rear and the side, you could do both, and you could probably put them next to each other and, pave out a corner of the property, things of that nature. And again, it doesn't always have to be sod. It could be landscape, trees. I'd always encourage trees. We had that conversation the other day. You may not get grass to grow, but you can get landscape beds, trees, things of that nature, which then some people say get stuff in my pool. It's very complicated. You could use bushes, things of that nature, softening the landscape a bit aesthetically, so you don't have it just constantly all paved and walls and concrete. Even though here, again, people choose more aesthetically pleasing hardscapes, people are putting down really nice stuff. So it does look good. But again, it's that infiltration, unimpeded access around the property, especially for emergencies. Since we're getting into EMS, I'd like to be able to get to people's backyards.
Well, the paving actually, I think, allows for more access as opposed to if you put shrubbery or trees. Trees could actually, depending on the landscaping you install, could
Sure.
impede the access
And be a
to
problem
the
otherwise.
property. It would-
Certainly. Sure.
Yeah.
So I think what we're saying is you want access. You also want it to be frankly presentable and usable, because where I saw from the water, you would have the 2-3 foot slope.
Yeah.
It does slope down to the seawall,
Yeah.
and it's dirt, it's weeds, it's rocks, it looks terrible.
Right.
And yet they can't do anything about it really, unless they take the initiative and hope. But if they put in pavers or artificial grass now, artificial turf, which is, I guess, the big thing, which looks great on some, and they don't use a lot of water. And in a difficult area where it's always in the sun anyways, then, it'll look more presentable. But I think the point is, let's avoid structures, but not avoid access for the whole length. That's next to the waterway. Why not?
I agree with John, because I think you're hindering people based on the shape of their property. That somebody may have more and have a pool and they just want to extend out from the pool. They have a sitting area and they want to be able to go all the way down to the seawall. And other people just don't have that kind of space where their whole yard basically is their pool.
Exactly.
And I don't think it's fair to hinder them. I don't think we should require that it be 50%. I also don't think that we should distinguish between a pool deck and something else, because you don't want them to have to put a different hard surface in there. That'll look terrible.
Right.
Extending what's already there unifies the whole thing. And she's absolutely right first of all, it's very difficult to mow a slope that goes down.
Right.
And it also becomes dangerous if they want to walk down and get onto a boat that's tied up there. You've got grass, people are sinking into it. And that's much more dangerous than a hard, flat surface to walk out. I would eliminate the 50%, and I would also not, at that point, not distinguish between the pool deck and something else.
Peg?
Yes, thanks. Couple things. What was happening 3 years ago was people were putting in extended decks, just when Marshall came on board, out over the water and calling them docks. And they were being passed by previous persons in the building department as docks. And therefore, a pool deck could extend out 5 to however many feet, I think it's 5 feet into the intercoastal, or the lake has a different code and they're called a dock. So I think we might have to differentiate a little bit between a deck and a dock, because a dock therefore would need Army Corps and DEP approval and be listed as such. And then at the time seawalls were being rebuilt and raised as, and being called, I forget the term, but it was something to the effect of, well, this is a retaining wall for the dock, or this is a retaining wall for the deck. So we need to just differentiate these terms. Marshall jumped right into that his first week on the job. In fact, we got the-
It was
remember that?
seawall caps, and then
Yeah.
it wasn't a seawall, it was a retaining wall. But even
Yes.
though the face of the retaining wall was actually the seawall, so they elevated the cap, and once they expanded the cap up, they got through the encroachment because they called it a seawall cap, and then they can just move the pool deck over. Which, by doing this, we're going to allow that without having to be so technically implied on each step, where I got to call it this and that. So we were having people trying to work away around getting straight out to their boating facility, dock areas. So this would allow them to just go out. And when it sounds like the encroachment percentage, the only thing I would ask is, do we want to require, I mean, some element of landscaping and greenscaping? How does that play out here too? 'Cause that's going to be a challenge, because if you say all of it, you can encroach, even though it won't be an obstruction to access, because everything has to be under the 4 inches above finished grade.
Right.
Conceivably, you could have a whole 8,500 square foot lot, totally impervious, no landscaping. I don't know if people want that at these type of properties. They still like the palm trees, the bushes, the privacy, the land. I think still people like it, but conceivably somebody could say, I really want it all paved.
Well, but we don't have to include the side yards in that. We were talking about
Just the waterfront access.
the waterfront.
Okay.
Right on the waterfront,
Exactly.
not going up the sides.
Right, exactly.
So the side yard setback is 15 feet. So then do we still just stick with single family homes? Do we stick to the side yard setback? And then secondly, unless I'm wrong, we still do not have a side yard setback for multiple family homes, townhomes. We do not have one on the books, do we?
Yes, we do.
We do have one.
Yes, I could.
We couldn't find it 2 years ago, so
Okay.
maybe you've enacted that.
I could tell you what that is.
That would be great. So do we want to stick with the side yard setback, which would have been what, 12 feet rather?
Yeah,
At the
si-
waterfront, or just allow
But
the
still-
entire thing to be paved? That's
But
the big
again, I'll just
question.
one last pitch for it. Not that I'm pitching for it, but do we not want waterfront adjacent landscaping, bird nesting habitat, macroinvertebrate populations, which means bugs? I know it's a little gross, but
Bugs.
those things are good for, fish and things of that nature. Even though we do have that vertical separation that kind of breaks the habitat a bit, by 100%, conceivably, I don't know if people will, but conceivably, we're no longer potentially going to have trees or shrubs at the water's edge or back of seawall. It could happen. I just don't know if we should have a more conversation on that if you want or not.
I
To be
just don't
honest-
understand the why at the edge of the waterfront. That is probably the most valuable component of a lot. And I don't know that we want to, I just would strike, let people do what they want. I mean, if we want to encourage green space, maybe it should be a percentage of the entire lot, and we wouldn't be specific on what is the water frontage percentage. That would be my
Yeah,
recommendation.
I think we have to be very careful here.
Right.
And there's a line we should not cross. And that line is we shouldn't be even thinking about invading people's rights.
Exactly.
It's their land, their property. As much as we would like to see certain things done, people have a right to do what they want to do on their own property.
Exactly.
And we shouldn't be sitting here dictating these things. Although we think it's right, and we're definitely into conservation and we're into green space, but to be even considering what percentage of somebody's land should be, populated with trees or should be ABC, I believe is the wrong approach.
Mayor, I had a couple more
In a
points.
second.
I wasn't finished, but
I'll turn it
okay.
over to you in a minute.
Thank you.
I just think that's the wrong governance.
Mhm.
We're not here to dictate to the population. Population has their own rights, and I don't think we should be crossing that line. It's all yours.
Yes, sir. Thank you. I wanted to to express another couple of concerns with this. I don't have an opinion as of yet, but there are a couple other concerns with allowing pretty much full coverage at the water line. I am not for trampling on rights, but there are some logical reasons that these codes were enacted. One is the new state code requires, I think, Jeff, new homes and townhomes be built up 18 inches. Isn't that the correct?
Yep.
Or Ingrid, isn't there, which therefore puts new properties at a higher elevation than adjoining properties. And therefore the runoff spills on each adjoining property because of the elevation, the new elevations. Isn't that the new state code?
That's not.
Not quite,
That's not,
but it's.
that's not
Could you-
entirely correct.
Okay,
There's
well, that's
not-
why I'm asking
No,
Jeff.
there's not an automatic runoff. When the new home is built, they're responsible for that runoff.
I know,
So-
but
So they've got to build appropriately so there is no runoff.
well, that
I'll turn it over
doesn't
to you.
work in practical sense. But go ahead, Jeff. Thank you.
No, so the elevations that single-family homes have to be built to is base flood elevation decided by FEMA on the firm maps, the flood insurance rate maps, along with plus 1 foot of what we call freeboard. That doesn't apply to commercial buildings. It's only just base flood elevation for condos. But when we start looking at places like Bellito, and we start looking at Russell and Bel Air, and anywhere really on A1A, that's a single family. It is that base flood elevation plus another foot. So what we are seeing is that we're seeing homes now being built, higher than the neighbor. But with new construction, they are required to submit a plan showing that they are retaining all of the water, at least the first inch of rain on their property, which they have to do. Allowing them to extend out all the way to the seawall and foregoing the setback requirement on the waterfront, it's going to make their job more difficult to try to maintain that. So I think we may probably see them making some adjustments on their own in order to show some compliance, because we do want that water staying on their property so we don't have the problems like we do on, for example, on Russell and Bel Air, which I actually have Jason in the middle of putting together a pictorial for me, because I have the entire south side of Russell where every single person dumps all of their roof rainwater onto their driveway, which comes down onto our street.
Yeah.
All right. But that's something that we'll be hopefully discussing in the near future that I'm preparing for. But the issue is when someone has an existing home and now they want to extend out and they don't have anything in place, I wouldn't want to see this moving forward without at least some caveat in there concerning stormwater retention. So I just wouldn't want to let them run loose and say, hey, just go all the way out. But we still need to, have some sort of pervious surface.
Jeff, excuse me,
Is
sir.
that an ordinance that we have about the water runoff?
For new construction.
For new construction, yes. For existing, there's nothing I can do about it
Right,
for
no,
existing.
but if you're going to extend out a pool deck, that's new construction.
Well, it's not a new single-family home.
It's not a new home, but
it's-
you're still, it shouldn't be grandfathered in because you're making changes.
That puts me in a really tough position because it's very difficult for me to pull anything out, any solid ordinance that we have in place that specifically addresses doing that.
Well, then maybe we need to add that.
Yes.
That if you are doing any kind of construction back there, that you must comply with taking care of your own rainwater.
Hmm.
Because you're right, we can't stop the houses from going higher because that's now necessary to do. And it's unfortunate, but yeah, you can put in French drains, you can put in all kinds of things that will stop the water from running to the neighbor. And you're right, yeah, I mean, I agree with Doug. I don't like to hinder what somebody does on their property. But you don't want them to do anything that is going to damage or hinder their neighbors from enjoying their property.
Right. You know, back to what the bigger picture is, I think our role in all this is to educate. And I don't think there's anybody here that is opposed to advancing green space. You know, we're all there. But we don't want to invade their rights by any means. But we do have a responsibility to educate our residents. And that's, I'm all in favor of that. And if it costs a couple of bucks to do it, then we need to invest in that. So it's an educational situation here, but certainly not making laws, not sending people out to enforce laws. That's not what we're here for.
Mayor,
Yes.
just one other note on Bel Air Drive, there is a structure which is completely paved on the sides of the yards. And this is an older structure. And there has been, once again, a lot of difficulty over there. The water pours into the street during storms. And whereas there's so much we can do, but I believe we have an ordinance against water runoff at that level. First of all, if I'd have to look it up. And second of all, is it possible we could ask for pervious structures, pervious
Material.
pavers, cement. There are different levels and qualities now where it's pervious, or even tiles set forth with rocks in between which allow water to stay on the property.
Yeah,
But
there are many-
this is an ongoing
Yeah.
issue at townhouses and homes.
Yeah, I mean, if somebody likes that look, there's many ways to achieve
Yes,
that look
yes.
and still take care of the water problem.
Yes.
You know,
So I think we need to somehow work that into this.
we're in the same.
Thank you.
So if I could summarize. that was-
Yeah,
that's
good luck.
Yeah.
Good luck, that's for sure.
So generally supportive, allowing some expanded encroachments into waterfront setbacks. So I'm saying this because Ingrid will communicate. We have to take this to the planning board to look at a no cap or percentage or an expanded percentage. We want the pool deck components removed. She's taking those notes. And that maybe with this new provision, we say that any work in those setbacks triggers compliance with our 1-inch drain runoff. So that allows Jeff to catch it on the permit side. That if you do this, that's fine, but you have to accommodate that drainage per the ordinance. And that would give them back to that creativity and look and feel.
Yeah, I think that works.
Yeah.
I think you're on to it.
Okay.
Yeah. We all comfortable with that?
Yes, one last comment.
Shoot.
The reason this ordinance was pulled together when Marshall first came with this is because there was one home proposed with a grill, a fountain, a propane area, an outside shower, something to like 20 by 12 feet, a gazebo, and 2 other things, all in the setbacks, all in the side setbacks. And we at the commission at that time with Marshall on board said, I don't think so. And therefore this ordinance was drafted. So I just wanted to add that.
Yeah.
This just shows that there's a problem when you draft something for one specific incident, and then you wind up with something that kills a lot of other things.
Right, but it was needed at the time because we had no other way to deal with that. It worked
Well, but
until now.
I will tell you, I hope that you didn't pass this after they had already submitted their plans,
No,
because that would have been a no-no.
no,
I do think we need to make a distinction between the backyard, as it were, and the dock. There's a difference.
Yeah, good point. Yeah, 2 subjects.
Yep.
Totally.
Right.
Yeah.
It's different. You don't want people building out over the water line unless it's a dock.
Right. I agree.
Commissioner David, we were able to get the head of all of Army Corps in to assist the town at that point. It was October of 2018. And he gave Marshall quite a bit of data, which we were able to work off of, and I'm sure we still have.
Okay, are we finished with that subject?
So I have guidance and that'll go to the planning board on the 16th. Ingrid, is that the 6th? 13th, and then it'll come back to you potentially for the first read on your 18th meeting.
Perfect.
Okay?
Great.
Good.
Okay, let's move on to commission comments. Start with John.
So
Thank you, Jeff. Thank you, Ingrid. Appreciate the input. Ingrid, thank you.
Okay?
Yep.
Several comments. I was very, again, honored to have another interview with a veteran. His name is Claude Smith at actually Boca Highland and the Caron House. And an amazing story. I wrote it up. It's now with you. It's now my 8th article. And if we can get the newsletters out on time, we'll catch up. But what was unique about this is that besides being a veteran, a full colonel in war in Afghanistan and whatnot, he retired as a full colonel and established Veteran Last Patrol. I'll say this again for those who might be watching. The website is www.veteranlastpatrol.org. And what it is an organization, obviously nonprofit, to support veterans on their last days in hospice, to provide friendship, camaraderie, to be there, to spend time with them as one veteran to another. And this is growing. He started up in the Mid-Atlantic. He's now in Florida. He's living here for the last couple of years, and he's trying to expand it in Florida. It's really quite a story. So anyways, I was pretty excited. Just want to let you all know that. I talked to Teresa, and it'll be scheduled with others as we go forward with the manager's minute. Okay, next thing is I would like to at least share my input from citizens who are really pleased with our decision on the EMS and fire decision with Del Rey. And even obviously Del Rey seems to be pleased and has wished us luck formally. But I think the fact that we're offering faster service, better service, less money, reflected, again, the council's courage that was very positively received. Now, we got a long way to go, and I know we got a lot of work, but so far, we're definitely on the right track, at least from citizen input. Another area that I've been involved in quite a bit because of being on the board of Highland Beach Club is insurance. And I'm sure you all have heard, or if not, then I'm going to update you with a real problem in the insurance industry is that due to the Texas floods and the freeze and what happened there, along with the hurricanes, the tornadoes, and also amazing COVID litigation, the insurance companies are under siege. Our insurance company literally went out of business. So we had to go to another insurance company. Well, you'll find out that the insurance companies, most of them don't offer full coverage. You'll have specific coverages narrowed by different companies. So, however, what all that means is that most of us are looking at 30 to 50% increases in our insurance costs. As we found out, a 50% increase at Highland Beach Club. Okay, now that's a 200-unit community, a couple towers, and then a bunch of townhouses. And I've talked to a few brokers in the meantime that have also experienced that insurance is a big subject. So I want to kind of alert you to that point. And here's the one key thing that can help reduce the cost of insurance. The one specific thing that can dramatically take it down from 30 to 15 or even 10%. Impact windows. If you don't have impact windows, now this goes in support of the Building Safety Month. So I want to give a shout out to our team there. But buildings have got to convert to these impact windows. And there are more of them that haven't, so than I would have thought. Okay, so I just wanted to pass that along. The other action that I did do, I was able to go out with Jeff Kleinman in his boat, and I inspected the ocean on our beaches. And what I learned, and I really, I won't say I was skeptical, but I wanted to be, okay, I want to hear what's going on here and see it for myself. And using his map and his scopes, which is very good, we went the whole length and you could see the boroughs. I mean, there's no question. The boroughs are not only there, but on the southern end from where Boca took out a lot of sand. I mean, you get to a point where you can drop down as much as 30 feet straight down into the borough, 30 feet. I mean, we were measuring the depths because you would go over it and you could, you know, we're starting out at 38 and then boom, we're at 52 feet difference. So the boroughs are deep. Now, what's interesting is that in the entire length of Highland Beach, it goes beyond in both directions, north and south, is the reef. But there are a couple breaks in the reef. And where there was a break in the reef, there was not any impact on the beach sand. It didn't look like the beach there was suffering any erosion. But the one area where the boroughs were deep is where you could look straight over at the beach and see that is the one area that has the most erosion. Now, it can't be a coincidence. It just can't be. And that one area is at Oceans there on the south end with the single family or dual family residences, the expensive mansions that are suffering the greatest erosion. If you draw a straight line out 3/4 of a mile, you'll see the boroughs are deep. And then on the other end, the northern end where Del Rey took out some sand, they kind of stopped at our line, but Boca definitely took out more sand, as we know. And don't know, I didn't see an impact on our beaches, but clearly, we got a whole stretch of sand that's very valuable. And I am convinced that we really need to, preserve that sand as our safety barrier. And although I think some might feel that, it's never happened before, I do think other towns have encroached on other beach towns to take their sand. That's rare, but it happens. But I think we can go forward and protect ourselves because it's real. If you go there, you'll see it. I did. I couldn't believe it. And by the way, I was most pleased with the fact that the water off our beaches are incredibly clear. I mean, you can go out to the point where there's a tugboat that sank that's out there. You can go out, get over it, and look straight down, and you can see it. And it has to be like, 50 feet down. And it's amazingly clear water. So we have great water, great sand. We just got to keep it. Lastly, I think that's all I have. Thank you.
Okay, well, just to back up John and the impact windows, I know my building did not require impact windows for Wilma, and we had about $2 million worth of damage inside the building from Wilma. We did subsequently require impact windows, and the whole envelope of the building is protected. And while some apartments had problems during Irma, the building did not.
Which building? Are we talking?
Bramer Isle.
Bramer, yeah. That's just for everybody to know.
Yeah, it made a huge difference, and you're absolutely right. Our insurance, in fact, dropped at that point because we were completely protected. And I mean, with the different apartments, there was a lot of factors that go into it. There is nothing that will completely protect you. If you've got sliding glass doors, there is always the possibility water is going to get in. If it comes down fast enough and it's driven and the direction of it, and particularly when sometimes a tornado occurs at the same time, some units are going to get damaged. But it makes a huge difference in the insurance costs. As the sand, I think that it's not a matter of our wanting to use the sand ourselves. It's a matter of protecting our beaches from erosion. If there are trenches that are pulling the sand away from our beach, that's a whole different issue. And maybe we should look into that, because then it's destroying. You know, they keep saying there's no impact, but if you're seeing an impact, then maybe they all have to take all the experts need to take a better look at that.
Right.
And see exactly what is happening. Yes, as far as the fire rescue contract, I have had nothing but positive responses. Not one person has said to me, why are you doing that? And I just want to assure people, we're not making all the decisions up here. We will hire experts every step along the way to make sure that everything is done correctly. Because none of this is in any of our purviews. None of us are firefighters. We don't have any doctors up here. So we're not talking about medical. All the right people will be hired to help put this program together. It's going to be a lot of work, but I think we're up for it. And I think in the long run, we will be much better off. That's it.
Peg?
Thanks, Mayor. I agree with Commissioner David and Commissioner Shoemaker about the fire. Everyone is excited, thrilled. Actually found a fire truck for us last weekend. It's a 1953 Ford Beam, available for tow charge only. I'll send you all a picture. It was hilarious. Way out in Okeechobee County. Regarding the sand, as you all know, our representative, Mike Caruso, drafted a letter to the governor last fall and followed up on it. And I have a meeting via probably Zoom on it in later May, because it needs to come from Tallahassee. It involves DEP and the Army Corps and the state. And so he has been on that out of concern and out of personal knowledge about having lived on the beach for some time. Regarding our approach, they failed again this year, but did not really fail because I have been redirected by our Senator Polsky, whose birthday is today, wishing her happy birthday, and Representative Caruso, and they are redirecting us to the multiple grants available to small towns for infrastructure, flooding, and the money is readily available there rather than having an appropriation this year. And so I advised Marshall, I already started working on that the next day, and I'll keep you all advised. There will be what's today, Tuesday. Thursday, I have a Zoom call with the entire state League of Cities reps regarding a wrap up on the appropriations and the budget, and I'll have a full report next meeting. Basically, home rule was eroded a little bit in theory in areas such as home businesses. Looks like the state will have a little bit more control in that area. It was a consolidation of opinions on all fronts, and it's not fully in the state control, but a little more so than in the past. It's not going to allow a gas station to be built at the front of Bramer Isle, but there will be a little bit more freedom from homeowners working at home to be regulated by the state. The always interested, how would you say, concerns of small towns and beach towns are pretty much in order. Still, we didn't really have any major failures there. The vacation rentals we're still covered. Our ordinance stands that failed in terms of gathering momentum to have the state recover full control, which would have eroded and deleted all of our local ordinances. And I'll have a better report next time. I think that's it. Thank you.
Okay, so regarding the fire rescue, I guess what I'd like to see is a project plan, written up project plan with all the major milestones and dates, like start drafting it. I know, Marshall, you had mentioned you've started formalizing the documentation of it. So I guess I'd like for us to have a running project plan with specific dates and milestones so that we could, kind of oversee all the major things. And I guess, so Coconut Creek, I guess, was a recent fire rescue that was established. I wonder if we could talk to them about maybe lessons that they learned throughout their process, some pitfalls. I guess I'm interested in knowing, for us to identify, what are the biggest risks in doing this whole process? What did they learn along the way? What did they think that they did really well? What did they think they could do better? And then I guess I was thinking I'd like to take a look at the strategic priorities, add the fire rescue as one of the strategic priorities. I guess it should be number one, I think. So I guess overall, my comment is about, formalizing this plan, having specific dates, revisiting the strategic plan. When I looked at it, I see that there's a lot of like 30 days, 60 days, 60 days. I guess instead of putting the number of days, could we put milestone dates as to when, and then also put a timestamp on when was the last time it was updated? So I guess I'd like for us to kind of more formalize these plans so that when we do get these comments, like, are you guys, doing what you're supposed to? Because nobody knows, right? We're not firefighters. We don't, but I think if we had a plan, then I think it would help for everyone to know, what's next on the plan. Are we meeting these dates? What is it costing us? All that kind of stuff. So I would like to formalize that. And then another question I had was the Charter Review Board. I know we have a meeting, there's a meeting coming up. And I guess there'll be an agenda. That's what will be on the agenda of the Charter Review Board. Do we know?
Yeah, I'll have Linelda forward over a copy of the agenda for the first meeting.
Okay.
It's more organizational meeting at first. Again, I encourage you, if you have places you want targeted for the board to start its review and dig in, please forward those on to me. I will be presenting them with a list of starting points and starting that conversation. So once I get that, they'll take a look at it and we'll get going. But Linelda will email over a copy of that agenda so you could see what we're doing. Glenn's going to be given a little overview of the sunshine laws. We have some historic documents on the charter from the last charter review. So we'll kind of start setting the framework for them. They'll pick a chair, vice chair, set some meetings, and then we'll start to dive into topics and come up with a procedure or a method of review that the board feels comfortable moving through the topics. So that's a scattershot approach. They're going to, if these are a list and maybe the first meeting or 2 meetings is just developing a list to target, and then we just pick them off and move in relatively quick order. Again, I sent you a copy of a lot of it you don't need to change, to be honest with you. And I'll tell that to the charter review. We don't need to go line by line, sentence by sentence. There's no reason for that. We're not changing the geographic boundaries of the town, procedurally how, and I don't see that, like we had at the last meeting, should we further define domicile? You don't really need to do that. You need to look at the big standing issues, like just one that we know we're all going to talk about is the funding limitation, right? We're going to talk about that. That we should just focus on what is appropriate for today and moving forward, and recognizing it's not about each of us, it's us now and commissions and managers in the future. So I think it'll be a slow start, but then it'll ramp up onto those topics. But the first one is going to be organizational, just trying to get everybody comfortable with each other, how we want to have the conversation, who's going to run the meeting, and then we'll go from there.
That's it.
A few things. I didn't get the report on the status of the beach buckets.
I swear I forwarded that. I
I didn't get it. So can you
did
send
anybody
that
else?
again?
Did you guys get the
Anybody else get it?
pictures on the beach buckets that are
I got a picture. I got a picture. But I don't
That was
know
in the
where they're
beginning.
going.
Yeah, that was weeks ago.
All I got was a picture. But I didn't get which buildings were getting them.
Ingrid sent me one. I thought I forwarded it to the commission. So if I didn't, I will go back through just check my sanity for a moment. I know fire is pretty big. I just want to make sure we're missing the little pieces too, but
maybe I just didn't get the body. So
I didn't get it
everybody else
either.
got it.
I didn't get it.
okay, so I'll make sure.
You know what might have happened? Possibly just the photo was sent and not the body. So if you would forward that.
I will do that. Yes.
This whole discussion on the sand, the boroughs, I mean, we've been through this countless times. We've had experts in here and we went through it with the experts. I just want to remind everybody, it's not our sand. And we refer to it as our sand only because it sits off of our coastline. Ain't our sand. We can debate all day long, you know, if it's damaging our beaches or not damaging our beaches. There's not anything we can do about it. I just don't think we should be spending a whole lot of time discussing it. I'm sorry, John, we're not always going to agree. One thing I failed to report on at the last meeting, just because I was kind of wrapped up in this whole Delray fire issue, was I did have a meeting with Scott Singer, the mayor of Boca, and I didn't report on it. I want to. We had very good discussion. It was the first time that the two of us sat together alone. We've been on Zoom meetings together, and it was really the goal of the meeting, or the objective was just to kind of get to know each other one-on-one. And it was very worthwhile. We spent probably 45 minutes together. We talked about common interests, boards, what has he been trying to do to improve the boards, and they have a lot of boards. Okay, when you ever look at their website, it just, I don't know, they must have a dozen boards. But they have the same challenges on their boards as we have with our boards. We talked about just organization structure and how they run their meetings, what they do to prepare for theirs, what we do in our meetings. He was very complimentary about our meetings. He did his homework before we got together also, looked at several of our meetings. We talked about the beaches, and they have some upcoming mining to do also. It's not out in front of ours, what they're doing. Most of it is around the mouth of their inlet or outlet. And most of that Marshall is already aware of. He's in communication with their people. If we wanted to piggyback with them on some of that sand so that some of our, excuse me, our owners could use some of that sand, Marshall has already talked with them about doing something. So that possibility is definitely there, but it's an administrative nightmare to get our individual owners to work something out, but it's there if we wanted to do it. We talked a little bit about our fire rescue situation. We had not given notice to Delray prior to that, so, but he was aware of the direction that it was going. We spoke a little bit about the potential of mutual aid. He didn't see any problem with it, but obviously a lot has to be done to put it together. And we talked about individual backgrounds. How did we get to where we are today? So that was basically it. Nothing other than building a foundation. Okay. And that's about all I have.
Mayor?
Yeah.
Scott Singer, I just want to add, next time you have a meeting, possibly you could raise the issue of tennis court use down the road. I know it's a small item, but for those tennis players or even other recreational activities, maybe Boca would be of interest to assist us with some kind of an access. I know you can buy a Boca Parks Pass if you're not a member, which would allow access to Spanish River Park just south of us and all, but it's just an idea. You could add that since our resident is still here who's interested in golf. Just an idea if you'd like to add that.
I'd like to have something to trade.
Well, library, maybe. Fire truck, fire and rescue.
I brought a mask. I got a mask.
And I want to add, when I ran in 2018, Mayor Singer was a great help to me. He's a really fine man. So that's great you've met with him.
Yeah, no, he's a good guy.
Great, yeah.
He's been very helpful through COVID, and it appears that he probably has aspirations beyond what he's doing now. Okay. Okay, let's move on.
Question?
Anything from council?
Marshall for stealing my thunder already. And Mayor, thank you for making the announcement about the attorney-client session on the.
I was
When does it-
instructed to do it.
Thank you, sir. And Marshall, thank you for, talking about the charter process coming up. The only other item really probably all read about it, the governor has entered another executive order regarding, mask mandates. And so, our position is that you still control your space. So, from an employee standpoint, from a public standpoint, you still have that ability. But obviously, there's no ability to mandate or to impose fines. And that fine part has been gone for a long time anyway. But you can still keep your room socially distanced and act in accordance with the CDC guidelines if you like. Because this still, as we all know, this is evolving very quickly now. That's all I've got. That's it.
Okay.
Well, I'll pick up where he left off. So, I mean, we are going to, I've had some conversation with staff, especially those that do more of our public interface or more common areas, library, post office. So I'm guessing here over the next, 4 to 6 weeks, maybe a little bit less, we'll start to provide more flexibility for users to the greater extent possible. We're going to slowly, you'll start seeing that over the summer. That total positivity rate, that's what I would tell you to pay attention to when you read all of the tons of news blasts, and it's the total positivity. We fell below 5 in Palm Beach County. That's a healthy number. That's a number that we're definitely now trending right direction. Now, barring something else happening, we are seeing that that's a good sign. Don't just look at how many for the whole state of Florida we got reported. Look at that positivity rate, especially in Palm Beach County. That's good. We're succeeding. Mitigation measures, strategies, they're starting to work its way through. And I think we are kind of, especially for residents, we're kind of at the tail end of this. We're going to start now coming around the corner. Whatever you want to say, normalcy, whatever that is, we all create our own normals. So we're starting to, at least where the public health threat is starting to ease a bit for us. So that's going to be improving. So we'll take a look. Someday maybe this comes down soon. Maybe Glenn and I join you back up there. Maybe you don't want us near you, So, either way, we'll be willing to accommodate. But there'll be some changes. So if you run into some folks, we're not hearing a lot of people complaining. But at the same point in time, we are a public institution, a public agency. We will start opening it back up. Talked a lot with Lois, that's our high use area. We're probably not opening up for clubs and membership room rentals and things of that nature. We just don't want to put people that close together just yet. But getting people to come in at will versus pre-arranged appointments, even though some of the things that we have done, Zoom, call ahead for your book pick, those things, we're not going to let go of those. Those have been real, true service improvements in the public sector. And I think as a public administrator, we've learned a few things it's pretty neat. I mean, to be able to interact with all of our residents through Zoom, allow them to continue that participation. And some of that high-end service that the library, you just call ahead. We'll pick your books up, put it in a bag. It's waiting for you. We'll walk it out to the curb. Real nice stuff that people really love, that kind of white glove service. So I think some of those things are going to stay in line moving forward. Again, some of the strategic priority stuff. Yes, I owe you a quarterly update. We'll begin to work and tweak and adjust. As we said, it's going to come. It's a dynamic document that we'll adjust on a quarterly basis. Been in touch with a PR firm to help with the communication plans. Started that conversation on the side, and we'll go from there. I hear you on the fire stuff. A formal plan, I think, will come to its own being in the next quarter. Again, there are things that we need to do to get that stuff in place. What we have are all the foundational elements. We've made that termination agreement. We've made contact with the medical director. We've got an RFP going out to get an architect. The last piece will be bringing somebody in to help myself, Chief Hartman, and you all take those next steps and begin to aggregate all of these steps into one succinct plan is how we're moving, that works with that PERT chart where you see those steps, because those steps are going to change on a regular basis. So what I want to do and make this commitment to you moving forward is Teresa's going to reach out. We're going to set up bi-weekly meetings. I don't want anyone to feel that they're left off, not getting some piece of information. Every day is a little bit of something comes in. What I don't want to get, as we all see with the sunshine, is I have to constantly spend all day getting you emails. I think this thing is bigger. It involves more personal contact and engagement with each of you so I can take each of your ideas and form it into that plan. So you will be seeing something just as Vice Mayor, as you're requesting. You're going to see that. Glenn and I have been working hard. I appreciate Glenn's efforts to hit the pavement for us and to try to get some folks interested in helping us. And I think we're making some big headway. Yes, Mayor? Sorry.
Go ahead. Here's what I would like to do. And I need you to tell me if I can do it, if we can do it, and how we could pull it off. Would like to meet probably in the library large room, in a round table, the commission, and obviously Marshall, to discuss this whole fire operation and go through some of the strategic planning, go through the PERT chart, identify the key dates, and talk about it
With
the commission.
with residents?
Pardon?
With residents as well?
No, with the commission and Marshall. And residents can sit on the sidelines and listen, but not participate.
That's doable. Yeah, it's the workshop meeting.
It's a
format.
workshop. I want to have
Basically,
a
we're talking
workshop.
about, you want to have a workshop on fire at a certain location
Yep.
where the public can attend and observe, but there's no requirement that the public participate. So you can certainly do that.
Yes.
And if it needs to be videoed, that's fine. I don't care.
You don't have to do that. You don't have to Zoom. If you're opening up to the public, you can Zoom. I don't know if the library is set up for that or not. But the key is you're able to meet together, and there's enough space in that huge room that if some residents want to come and sit, and by then, who knows what the social distance rules will be. But yeah, you can do this.
Would we all be comfortable doing that?
Sure.
I guess what's the difference between having it as an agenda item versus what it is that you're talking about?
Because I think we do a lot better if we're sitting across from each other.
With others.
And then it's a workshop only for that. No other subjects.
I think that's fine with me. I guess, could we also invite a professional who helps with the implementation of these fire rescue departments that can kind of help with the discussion and identify issues?
That will occur down the road. We're looking for those people now.
Okay.
He's got a line on one at this point, but we need.
Maybe two.
We need to.
We're
find
working
those.
the angles, and that's where I'll pick up from where I left off with the report. Again, thank you, Glenn, for hitting the pavement, trying to find some local contacts to help take us into these next steps.
But this gives us a chance to get everybody up to date, where we stand, what we've done so far, what we see as the critical path, what the
Mayor?
key decisions are going to have to be, what the dates kind of look like. And the reality is we're ahead of schedule right now. But that doesn't mean we're not going to fall behind also.
Yeah, do we know everything that we need to know? And I don't know how the five of us or, know all those things. That's why.
Oh, we had Robert. So we're working off of the knowledge we got from Robert.
Mr. Mayor, if I could, I'll piggyback on what Marshall just said. We have been hitting the pavement. There's lots of firefighters, retired chiefs, retired captains out there in this universe. And
We want you there also, but
oh yeah, and I've been in this industry world for many years and know a lot of those folks. And so they're reaching back out. They're excited. There's this general sense of, on the one hand, it's new. So when it's new, some people are a little concerned about that, a little hesitant.
but other people get very excited about that and want to be helpful being on the ground floor. So as Marshall said, we've already got a few leads. I think we're going to get more. We're going to get some professionals that have done this. You know, we've
Right.
had the conversations with some folks from the county. Marshall's had conversation with the county administrator. So this is a process, and we all know this is going to be a long road, but I think we're all up for this journey.
Yeah,
They're going in a good way.
it's a marathon, not a sprint.
And again, because I think the hardest part I have to impart to the commission, and I will work on this, and the people watching, it hasn't been done here in over 30 years. Everybody in power here was not here at the county level when this happened. So there isn't a formal process that has been deployed that will be replicated in work. The political dynamic of Palm Beach County is quite strong. That is kind of, I don't want to say our obstacle, because I don't see obstacles, I see opportunities, right? So that's our opportunity where we have to, as a collective group, work into it. There will be, and this is my honest feedback to you, there will be people that will work against us. Recognize that, please, that not everybody wants this to happen. So, and it may not just be what you would naturally think as Del Rey or who are these, but there will be people working against us. And I know the anxiety will begin to rise a bit. I will work to do that. So we'll set up these meetings. We're going to, when we get a consultant, I'm not going to make the decision in a vacuum. You will be engaged and involved at every decision-making point when we get to it. Right now, I am getting things to bring to you. So that's the silence you may feel or hear. That's what it is. I'm putting all the pieces so I can start delivering deliverables for your reaction, response, and approval. So those things are coming. They're in the queue. We're working through. Teresha's going to reach out. We'll start meeting and talking, because I just don't want this to be an email string. We're beyond that. This is too big for it, to be honest. As I look at each of you, email isn't going to do it. Not going to get us through. So we'll work through that. And when we have those deliverables and pieces, and it's coming, I promise you it's coming. It's in place. As the mayor just said, we are ahead of schedule. If you look at that, we're ahead. I am not a very passive leader type, more of a personality. I'm going to push hard at all times to everyone's probably strife, but we're going to get through it and we're going to make it happen, and we will get you those deliverables.
Let's look at our calendars. See when we can do this.
Natasha, I think we will have target dates as opposed to firm dates.
I think that's fine, as long as
Because
it's in
none of
paper.
this
I think
going
that's totally fine.
forward can really be targeted.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think I'm up for target dates, and
Yeah,
I'm also
so-
up for a 20,000 level view. I would like to see it in a
Sure.
a formal document so that we can kind of all see it. And your comment is well taken about this hasn't been done in Palm Beach County, but I mean, Broward, how different is Palm Beach County from Broward?
Night and day.
Oh,
Really?
Very different,
Okay,
Yeah, that's what I've
very different.
How are we on the 11th?
of.
Next week, next Tuesday?
At what time?
Well, let's see if we're clear on that day, we could do it at the same time.
Are we looking, are you talking about this meeting already?
Yeah, this is just
Okay.
it's more of an update and planning meeting. So everybody gets a sense of what's in that. Basically, what I see this as being is a review of that per chart. So
Excuse me,
everybody
Mayor?
understands what's on that chart, what those functions are, how we see them. And targeting in on what those key elements are.
Mayor, I believe we'd have to notice it as a public meeting, which takes a couple of weeks for us to meet together.
No,
Would it need that?
Linelda is saying no.
It's a
No, we don't
workshop.
need to notice it?
A couple
Oh,
days
cool.
would be appropriate, though.
Okay, great. Okay.
Is that-
We
Thank
get
you.
notice out tomorrow.
But I'm
That's fine.
sensing that Marshall doesn't think that there's going to be enough information to have a meeting of this sort yet.
Unless you want to publicly share what I've shared with you in an email that I said is in draft format. Unless we wanted to, maybe it would be appropriate to slow walk the first step so everybody feels they're seeing it and part of it. I don't know if I'm ready to, I'd like to have a few more things in place, but hey, we can go with what we got.
I'm sensing you're not comfortable.
Yeah.
Can we make it an agenda item for our next
So
meeting?
you want to push it back a little bit. Okay, you pick the next date.
The 12th, no, just kidding.
How about the
Um,
18th? We already have.
Marshall, this is Lanelda. Keep in mind, we did have to make sure, well, the library don't have anything going on over there right now, correct? Or do they have any?
Well, it won't be televised, so it's gonna be a public event. We're gonna welcome
Correct.
public into a public setting, which, masks, things of that nature. So, could be a little bit challenging. At the library, we don't have as much, the technology isn't as good at the library.
Okay, then maybe we should do it in this room.
Well, if I could add, probably the one that's throwing a wrench in it. I'm leaving day after tomorrow to go back up to Boston to pack up my house and get the heck out. That's my commitment to Highland Beach, and I won't be back until July. So I won't be here. I can Zoom in, obviously, and I can call in, but I'm going to be the problem, I guess.
Okay. let's
We
do
could, we did it in here. We could Zoom technology.
All right, we'll do it in here then.
I
It'd be
think we make
hard
it
for,
an
it'd be
agenda
hard for the
item.
public. We could probably get a handful of public in, because by the time you bring in staff and we're not gonna have a lot of socially distanced space, but we could televise it though. So everybody could just sit at home and watch it on cable and Zoom in, and they can all sign up and participate via Zoom. But it's a special meeting. You don't need public interaction or public comment, but they can watch.
Make a suggestion. Following up what you're saying, May 25th, the library, public meeting, and we set up a laptop so the commissioner can Zoom in.
Done.
Okay. 25th.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Would like to
And the
be
public is still invited, and you can still have that. And I get the round table. I mean, I'm old enough from Henry Kissinger and arguing about the table and the shape of the table and, the
Are you
round table.
Comfortable with the 25th?
Maybe I'm
Would you
waiting
rather
for the
look in-
Kissinger story to end.
Yeah. Sorry, the
Would you
Kissinger story.
prefer June?
May 25th is fine. I mean, we'll have, by May 25th, I'm telling you, every week's like an eternity, like the whole thing changes. And I mean, it's that quick coming, but at the same time, it's unclear what you're going to get. Nobody works on the clock like I like to work off of. So we gotta wait for everybody else's schedules, but 25th would work.
Okay, 25th. Is that good for everybody else?
Yes, Mayor, could we have it later in the day so working persons could attend or watch? Or we're going to stick with 1:30? It's just that working persons miss our
That's
meetings
fine.
and boards because of it being in
Pick
the
a time.
afternoon.
You want to do it at 4 o'clock?
That would work, I'm sure.
We good with that?
5:25. What's up, Teresa? What do we got here? Library is set up to Zoom, but not sure if the quality is great. That's coming from the penalty box back there. I feel bad. She's always back there. I can't see her.
Well, but it doesn't have to be interactive other than.
It doesn't. It just has to be
It just
viewed.
has to be viewed so that they can watch and listen.
You don't have to televise it, but then you'd be forcing more people into the space. Let us work out those details. If we want, public participation will be tough,
Okay.
but we can,
This is a working session for us. That's the most important.
okay,
Again, 4 o'clock,
4
Yeah.
PM,
25th, Tuesday.
Tuesday. Everybody good? Does that look good with everybody? 4 o'clock will probably take us a couple hours. I'll try to bring some snacks.
Great.
So let it be written. So that-
Let it be. We'll mail you some snacks. Commissioner Shoemaker, we'll mail you a little care package up to.
Don't leave me. Oh, I feel bad.
But yeah, so we'll do the 25th. That sounds good for everybody, 4 o'clock. I'll fine tune some stuff and go from there. Maybe something will break through in the next couple of days and we'll really start to make headway on that.
Okay, good. You're good with it?
That's all. I'm way beyond my comments. Are you kidding? Good.
Okay, anything else from anybody?
One question for Gossett Seidman,
sir.
Commissioner.
Yes, sir.
What is Polsky's first name?
Tina, T-I-N-A.
T-I-N-A.
Middle
And her
middle
husband?
name, maiden name Scott, S-C-O-T-T, like. tango.
Husband's name is Bart?
Yes, I believe so.
So Sue and Bart Polsky,
No, Tina.
or Tina, I'm sorry, it's hard to read her writing. And I can read, cursive.
Got
But
it. I understand.
it's amazing, sent a card, care of Marty Sylvester, and a picture of her brother. And a contribution has been made in your name, Marty Sylvester, for scholarships memorializing my brother, Colonel Peter F. Cohen, at the university, at Indiana University in the Department of Military Science, in honor for the service to our beloved country. I thought that was pretty exceptional. Just thought I'd share that.
She's amazing. Mayor, one other comment. I believe the governor issued an order yesterday that will invalidate all local mask ordinances and COVID ordinances.
Yeah, he did.
And so based on that, will we be seeing these partitions take down or will we just leave them? Just
That's
wondered,
what
have
you
we
were
gotten
referring
there
to.
yet?
That's what we were just talking about.
I know we
can
are,
still-
but-
No, we can still do this. We can't require people to wear masks outside,
Sure.
but you can still require people not, you can make them wear a mask to come inside because you control your space within the building.
Right. I'm just wondering if we need to vote or discuss these partitions. I mean, I don't really care either way. I'm just bringing it up. We just tackle that down the road.
If anybody objects to them, anybody object,
I don't care either way. Yeah.
leave them be.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else before we sign off?
I'm good.
Okay, thank you all.
Thank you.
We are adjourned.